good to see you again, by the way.
It's good to see you too. And I couldn't think of a better person to have on for a special 710 episode number 7. Well, you know why? Why I had to Google it. I was like, why is this correlation with like Dab Day or something? And it's the freaking old school. Can you guess what it is? Can you guess why?
Oil,
Yeah,
the
I did
oil
not.
aspect.
Boobies on the calculator, bro. Boobies on the calculator. That's all it is. Is 710 is oil upside down or reverse.
That's hilarious. You mentioned boobies on the calculator. I was just talking about that with a buddy the other day.
Classic ways of things that can get stuck into our heads to always remember. I wish they would have taught me that with like Pythagorean's theorem or like what do you call it? Pi, like 3.1456, and then I get lost right after that.
Right.
So why if 710 special episode couldn't think of a better person than my cannabis friend, my cannabis chef friend, my infusion chef, the man that will create all your delicious treats and sparkling ideas of what food should actually be containing. And that is, first of all, has anybody made a weed quiche yet? Like at all?
Yeah, I have a couple of friends in the vegan area and vegetarian recipes that do a lot of those kind of aspects with infusions.
Wait, hold on.
Actually, if I remember right, one of them is the original head chef of the Mint Cafe. She has a lot of that stuff on her Instagram.
Is quiche vegan?
No, but it's you can make vegetarian quiches, you can make fully loaded meat quiches, but it's more seen with a lot of vegetarian foods or health conscious foods and those aspects.
Have you made anything recently that, I mean, besides the YouTube channel that is growing amazingly, by the way? They're fun to watch. You do it in a professional production style too. You're like, it's like, I was watching, there's this thing called Mad Dubs on YouTube, and it's like they take all the old infomercials with like the non-stick pan, and there's some dude just voices on top of it. So it's that one lady that cooks all these things, goes, look at this bacon chicken fat. And it's like this high-pitched voice, but she's like, what do you want to put on top of this cake? More bacon grease. And then it's like they add like some type of like sauce to it, but it looks like bacon grease, so the dude's just dubbing over it. I was like, but when I watch yours, it's like watching one of those old infomercials or one of those things to buy like a knife that never breaks or something, because it's styled just like that. Like, hey, we're gonna put this in the oven and bam, in 30 minutes you get this. I mean, do you have a catchphrase yet? I haven't heard one drop.
I don't really have a catchphrase. I really don't. I don't know.
You got to think of this.
It just hasn't come to me.
This adds the production value to the set. You got the equipment, you got the looks, you even got the turtle like ninja. Whenever I think of Ninja Turtles, I think of you. So you, besides your awesome creations, you got to have like little side things you got to throw in there. Like, that's turtle power. Just kidding. It's actually the microwave. And then it's like stuff like that where it's like, bam.
I think the only thing I've got so far is like a name for the folks that love to watch it is Stone Turtles.
Stone Turtles. It's a good sales pitch.
I think it works. I'm just a stone turtle trying to make the world a better place and smile while I'm doing it. So we're gonna pass it along to everybody else.
What are what would you say your toughest recipe you've done so far is?
For the channel, the easiest one to mess up would probably be the eggnog.
Why is
just because when you're mixing hot heavy cream and warm or colder eggs, it can scramble everything. So you want to incorporate everything slowly, so the eggs heat up slowly, so everything incorporates, emulsifies, and nothing cooks at that aspect, because you don't want scrambled eggs in your eggnog.
It's kind of crazy because you look at like maybe even infusing foods with certain, cannabis style items. That seems to me is to be so tasking, because even regular cooking is tasking enough. Have you found ways to kind of trim the fat down from it to make it easier for like someone at home that's watching that actually wants to like, because if I'm, some people have TVs in their kitchen. We call that entitlement, but at the same time, it's ease of access. If you're going to spend a lot of your time in the kitchen making like souffles or making something that takes a lot of time and prep work, you want to watch somebody, teaching you how to do things. There's an old video of a woman cutting a tomato into a rose where I'm like, that's just a waste of fucking time, but it looks nice. But when you're in the kitchen, have you found ways when you're cooking to be able to make the process easier for maybe someone at home that wants to follow along to your channel and try out one of the recipes?
Funny you say that. The majority of the recipes I try to gear towards my channel are the simplest of recipes that you can find for easy at home cooking. So you can follow the step-by-step guide that I basically go through in the channel or for that recipe. Easy 3-minute video. You can pause and do all that. And if you follow it correctly, even someone who's never worked in the kitchen can do it. I try to steer clear of the very in-depth recipes that go along with cooking. So that way everybody at home can enjoy it. And I try to simplify everything, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
just the basics and break it down.
What would you say, I guess the basics are? Like if you're gonna make pick a random item that you would make or you
So,
would typically infuse.
so if I'm gonna do just a random item, most people do cookies. So I'm gonna give you all the ingredients you need and then 3 to 5 steps on that how to do it. And that's probably as simplified as you can get
Have you tried
for different things.
have you tried maybe like incorporating, I wouldn't say all of them into videos and episodes, like you do your infusion eggnog episode, you've done deviled eggs before too. Have you thought about
Yep.
making that into like a cannabis cookbook? Like, I mean, you seem like the type that would go for something like that.
I have. I'm actually looking for a publisher at the moment to get things moving forward. I've already got everything set up. So that will be coming this year, at least a volume 1 of it, because they're always growing and adding to it, and you're always expanding on everything. So, but that will be coming. It's one of the projects I have going on this year.
You would think that more people would be interested in trying to find like a way to maybe make it more flavorful. I mean, because whenever I talk to someone, they're like, "Yeah, I mean, I do medical marijuana or something." I'm like, "Well, how are you doing?" It's like, "Oh, you guys smoke it." Like everyone has their own like idea of what they prefer to smoke it out of, whether it's a bong, whether it's a bowl, whether it's a one piece or something like that. And I'm like, my favorite thing's edibles. I like to be able to, chew down a cookie or chew down something like that's actually tasteful. I mean, souffle is knocking it out of the game. If you're talking about making like soups and types of infused things like that, I'm like, all right, all we ever see is like candy, as in gummy worms, gummy bears, and all that. And I'm like, it does it such a disservice because, like, my grandma, she's looking to the medical marijuana. And I'm like, what's she gonna want to enjoy? She goes, well, isn't there only like hard candies and stuff like that? I'm like, yeah,
Nope.
you don't eat the hard candies, you give them out. But I'm like, where's she wants something that has sustenance to it, something that she can eat because, and it's especially difficult if you're going to talk about aiming towards the elderly people, because a lot of the times like heavy foods sit
Mhm.
in their stomach hard, they don't eat a whole lot of food, so it's about trying to make the correct edible infusion that won't sit too heavy in their stomach but also still be able to give them that high as well.
That's also why I have this channel, is because I've seen too many cookies, brownies, hard candies. It's diabetic non-friendly,
Yeah.
as I call it. So I like savory foods. I like drinks. I like all kinds of things. So an upcoming episode is a pasta salad that we have dropping this coming Friday, actually. And then I've got a potato salad as well. I'm trying to gear it more towards savory foods, more towards everything else other than just pastries and baked goods. Along with that, I do have cookies and brownies in my episodes because everybody loves those, munchies. But I like to show different styles of food. I have a vegan chili on there for for vegans out there and vegetarians, and even meat lovers because I actually enjoy it myself. I've got smoked brisket that's triple infused. I've got a double infused smoked turkey for Thanksgiving. Like you mentioned, the deviled eggs. So I try to incorporate more savory, cold sides, health conscious in some aspects, just to gear it off of the sweets. So that way people can see there's more options to infuse your food and still stay healthy and not have to deal with all the sugar crap.
Is there like a type A and type B of whatever you're making? Like if you're making infused eggnog, if you want people to be livened up at the party, do you use a sativa or do you just use like kind of like the basic bland part of like the basic template, I would say, for weed? Do you care if it's sativa or indica?
My personal preference, it depends on what I'm doing, and it also depends on the strain. and the terpene palette of that strain. So if I need to get some good energy and moving for the day, one of my go-tos is a sour diesel. It's a sativa. Because of the terpene palette, I don't get any kind of anxiety. I get a nice clear focus, a good energy, and I'm ready to go. If I'm having pain or it's at night and I want to relax or something, I would gear it more towards an indica or an indica dominant hybrid to sedate my body, loosen up my muscles, kill the pain, basically slow everything down so I can relax and go to bed and get some actual comfort.
And that would relate to the food that you cook, right? Like if you're going to cook eggs or something that would be infused, you'd want a sativa, because I don't think you want to have an indica when you're first starting out your day. Like, can you imagine trying to get your day? I got a million things I got to do. Well, I'm going to eat these infused eggs. Next thing you know, it's filled with indica, and you're contemplating what the meaning of the universe is. And it's like you forget the whole list of errands you were supposed to go on and stuff like that. You want to infuse a sativa, so at least after you have your eggs, you're like, I'm ready to take on the day. It's going to be an adventure. I'm going to enjoy some things. I'm going to have some great insight into life, and I'm going to come home and then maybe chill it out with an infusion indica. Like I would see like a pasta dinner would be something you would want to put an indica in, because you're already kind of, that's going to carb load you up a little bit. You're going to want to sit down and relax and let it kind of, digest. So you'd want an indica for that.
I would agree with you almost fully about the pasta salad aspect for the indica, except one little detail. If you're doing like a potluck style with a bunch of friends and it's during the middle of the day, because the pasta salad is going to bring you down way heavy on your stomach, a sativa would help liven you up a little bit to enjoy that potluck aspect or party that you're dealing with at that point. But for an evening, yes, if you're eating it with your like dinner with family or with your loved one or whatever, just by yourself, before bed, eating the infused pasta salad with an indica infusion would help loosen up everything and relax and help you go to sleep. So it all depends on what you're doing with it.
That makes me question your breakfast, because like I hear people eat, like I had a steak and then I went out and started my day. I'm like, bro, I have a steak when I'm ready to lie down. Like I'm not like, you know what I mean? Like everybody's breakfast is different. Me, I'm a cereal type of
Yep.
guy. Like maybe like, that's something, that's my breakfast type of thing. But I know people that eat, like I had a funnel cake this morning. I'm like, those are all foods you want to eat at night, but everyone's palate's different. Everybody's body's different when it comes to energy levels. So what's your typical breakfast? What's your go-to?
Mine, if I just got to get some food down and get going, I like some oatmeal. Do a little peanut butter in there. That way it helps, stay in your stomach and digest longer, and it sticks to everything, keeps you moving faster. Throw a little infused sugar on top of it, and I'm good to go.
Dude, that already sounds like a task and a half to me. I'm like, yo, if I can't open it up out of a can or throw it in a microwave, I don't know if I'm interested in getting into it.
You could even use packet oatmeal, warm up some water, pour it in there, throw a
There you
little
go. You
sugar and
lost
peanut
me. You
butter on
said warm
top,
up the
mix.
water. You lost me. You lost me. Because you gotta wait for that to hit hot water, and then you don't know if it's too hot or too cold. Like when you're making ramen, oh my god, that's a task and a half. They say simple directions on the back. No, 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 no. It's never just that simple. It makes you kind of look at things like, yeah, that's why people order out all the time, is because the ease of access of food. You've seen a sparking trend, at least nowadays, with Grubhub, Uber, all these other
Oh
types of
yeah.
apps. And that's because it's already ready. All they got to do is order it, do whatever they're going to do instead of spending time cooking it. I want to find a way to not eliminate those, but make it to where it's more of an event at home. Like so many people look at cooking, I'm too tired, it's too much of a drastic event. But after talking to so many people like yourself that have a passion to be in the kitchen and cook stuff, it really brings in a bigger perspective of what it is. It's a lot more than just fucking cooking. It's art. It's a form of creativity, and it's also pretty fun when you get down to it, really.
Oh yeah. Well, when you see your own finished product and then you kind of think back on your restaurant experiences, you're like, I just pulled off something that could be in a restaurant. So you give yourself a pat on the back, it tastes good, and you feel good about yourself. And I try to point that one out to people. Cook something simple, easy, and then make it nice on a plate. Very simple, easy, or elegant, however you want to do it. And then look at it, eat it, and think about all the restaurant experiences you've had and how the food has looked. Did you make it look like that or similar? You feel good about yourself when you do that.
Yeah, especially nowadays with everyone talk about the restaurant industry and the businesses that are kind of hurting. I was like, instead of eliminating those, let's try and find ways to people can design it at home. Like they give you maybe the supplies, they give you the instructions, they give you a little care package. Like, here you buy ramen, they have instructions on the back. Well, if you give somebody a certain item off your menu and teach them this is how you do it, this is how you prepare it, so it's ready for your whole family. Next thing you know, you got people that are diving into it at home and they're loving the idea of what it is, that creativity, that that few 30 minutes or an hour it takes to make something. If you're talking about 6 hours in a crock pot, unless you're that's tasking as hell. Like I want to eat it right now, but it's the concept of like, it doesn't mean that the businesses need to be eliminated. Maybe they should take form into a different way to adapt to the situation.
There are certain businesses out there that send you all the prepackaged ingredients and the instructions on how to cook it. There's actually a company, I can't remember what it's called, it's on the internet, but it sends you pre-made food from different restaurants all over the nation. And it sends you reheat instructions for it. So you can sample out different restaurant foods.
Huh.
So they do have a couple of those.
But has that affected the cannabis side of it yet? Like I know cannabis is
No,
becoming more
because
popular.
it's still on a federal level illegal. So you cannot ship anything with THC cannabinoids in it, only CBD.
Yeah, which is like the main reason why I have to go to freaking Arizona to be able to experience Chef Turtle's infusions.
I can send you some guides and some recipes and you can do it at home. All
Yeah,
you got
but
to do is follow it.
as soon as you start saying boil water or something like that, I'm out, dude. I'm gonna call it. If you say preheat the oven to 350, no, you gotta have. I like it just prepared in a little package in front of me. Like from the last time we've talked, what's an achievement you've accomplished? What's something that in your mind that you were like, this is awesome to me, besides the YouTube channel?
Just one?
Give me a list if you got it.
I got a center page in the Cannabis Cactus magazine out here
I know
for
I
their
got the
September
magazine.
issue.
I'm pretty sure you sent me.
Yes, I did. Let's see, what else have I got? I've been able to participate in multiple events. I've been doing a lot of open air markets. I've gotten my brochures created. I've got some car magnets done for my vehicle. I've been able to learn how to recreate memes for my channel for extra advertising. I've been doing work with a couple different medical marijuana card places to boost to what I'm doing and where I'm at for teaching and the workshops and everything else.
Well, hold on. Go back to the magazine, for instance. What was that
Okay.
feeling like of getting yourself in a magazine? I mean, the overall, like, do you think at any point in your life, let's take 10-year-old Neil, okay? He's sitting in his little Ninja Turtle outfit. He's watching his cartoons. Do you think at any point you would have gotten your face in a fucking magazine if it wasn't for like an obituary? Like, think about it, dude. Like, that is amazing. That is an incredible accomplishment. The fact that you're in a magazine with your infusions, your thing that you started on a journey of creating, types of different forms of cannabis creations, I would say. And it got put into a magazine, and not just any magazine, a magazine that is based on like the cannabis industry.
Oh, it was one of the best feelings I have felt so far in my life, to just open up that center page and see a huge centerfold of me fully clothed and then a whole just list of everything, an explanation of who I am and what I do. It was jaw dropping for me. I was speechless, I guess you could say, because I can't really think of anything that went through my head other than holy shit, I did it. How the hell did I do this? I don't know, but this is just mind blowing for me.
Well, here's the question. You say about who you are. So who are you?
Who am I?
Who am I?
My basic breakdown, easiest explanation is I am a person that wants to help teach and heal the world, leave the world a better place than I came into it in. Leave an impact on the world, be able to be there for the patient, anybody who needs the knowledge and wants the knowledge to be able to help themselves and heal themselves with a natural medicine. always be able to stay humble about everything and just know that at the end of the day, I'm just a human and I'm just a patient. So that way it keeps, I don't know, the level of the way you hold yourself and the way you walk and talk on the same platform and playing field as everybody else, if that makes sense. You
Yeah.
don't get that ego like, oh, I'm better than everybody else, because nobody's better than anybody. We're all here to help each other grow, learn, and teach, and compete with yourself. Don't compete with anybody else. So
Yeah.
that's, for me, I'm not in competition with anybody. You're either a teacher for me, so you're teaching me something, or you're learning from me and I'm teaching you something. Other than that, we're all here to help each other.
I love that kind of perspective, but what brought you to that point? Like, because I mean, you've heard me a few times on the podcast, and
Oh
I
yeah.
definitely got a big ego issue, but on the aspect of like, I think that the pedestal that we put people on, like heroes and all these things, and then we get upset when we find out something about that. I think the main idea is we're just people. I mean, the fact that marijuana, for instance, is illegal in a lot of places, I'm not pro marijuana. Actually, I might start turning back into going down that road again on the aspect of I've thought for so long that when I looked off the edge of a building when I was high and my brain was like, what happens if you fell from here? I thought like I would tell people that and be like, are you insane? Are you nuts? Are you like suicidal? I'm like, no, I looked it up. The French got a term for it called call of the void. And it's a strange phenomenon that you get when you stare off a high building. You don't have to be high to experience it. It just always happened when I was high. It's a strange phenomenon. It's actually, so it made me look at like maybe weed isn't like something that's gonna, hurt me or something like that. It's maybe something I can retry and look into, even though I still have other bad experiences because I just don't know how to regulate myself. I always have to do a little bit more because I'm just that guy that's like,
Mhm.
hey, why don't you try a little bit more? I'm like, okay, why don't I try a little bit more? But an aspect of like, there are so many other things out there that are way more legal that shouldn't be at all really on the aspect of profit, like what can we make more money off of
Mhm.
and stuff, than rather turning to a healthy alternative. And I think like even
Exactly.
that I'm afraid for of making weed legal, like regulatory dispensed, on the aspect of I know they're going to fuck with it so much that it's going to turn into something that's not going to be the original thing it's supposed to be, not on the aspect of putting it into an infusion, but these medical marijuana strains now, like a lot of them are like heavily like flushed with some stuff. And like, I don't know about you, but I can taste that stuff. Like I can taste one certain weed over a different certain weed. I'm like, this one tastes chemically. They're like, what's that mean? I'm like, it just, I can taste it. Like you did something to this that took it from what its original thing was. And I get it to replicate it, but then you end up dealing with a whole lot of stuff. Like there was an article in like 2000, I think 14, that came out. An Australian woman was having really bad experiences with a certain strain of marijuana that was like being heavily produced by a dispensary. And they were looking at it like, how are you able to taste that certain chemical? It's because they've turned it into something that it's not anymore, because they have to be able to recreate the same thing over and over and over again. They added science to it. And I'm like, this is something that shouldn't be so flushed with control. The whole point of this thing, it's supposed to release that control. It's supposed to kind of let you be yourself, try and be free, get out of your own head for a little while and, enjoy everything around you.
Well, that's why we have testing laws as well. So they have to go through a cannabis testing lab for minerals and anything that could be harmful, chemical bases and all that, along with the cannabinoid testing. And if there's anything that's not natural or it's harmful or whatever, the test result comes back and tells you that, and that whole crop has to get thrown out. That's one of the laws that's implemented with a lot of states now is testing regulations, making sure that the cannabis is safe, properly produced. There's no added chemicals. There's no extra stuff to be as safe as possible. There are dispensaries that still use a lot chemical-based nutrients and this, that, and the other, but they're becoming few and far between, if that makes sense, because of the testing laws that are becoming so vigorous that you have to get everything passed through these levels, that there's only this amount of these things or no amounts at all. Otherwise, your stuff has to get thrown out.
Well, what's your idea of what it should be like in your own experience? Because you're more involved, obviously, than I am in it. But what's your idea of like how dispensaries should be kind of working its way through? Do you think that it should all be like super regulated by the government, or do you think it's
I think it should be regulated to an extent for testing, making sure that all that is mandatory. Yes. But I also believe that any of the taxes that go from marijuana should be used for research and development to find not only the good, but the bad. So we know both ends of the spectrum. And the limitations on testing should not be limited at all. We should be able to test everything to find out exactly what the good and bad is with everything. So, how does it affect you completely while driving? There's many tests that show it doesn't make any hindrance, depending on the levels that you're smoking, obviously. Um, Other aspects, how does it affect different diseases, different cancers, different tumor aspects, different common cold? How does it affect that? Just different things like that. And then if you want to get more in depth, how does it affect the long-term diseases, autism spectrum, Parkinson's and all those,
yeah?
seizure aspects, chronic migraines, chronic back spasms? How does it just help the minor things as well? You have headache. How does it help that? Does it or doesn't it?
I
What
had a
strains work? What terpenes work?
I had a woman on this podcast who had a severe neurological issue, and it's known as the suicide disease because eventually you
Okay.
can't control your body to the point where most people just take their life from it. And she uses marijuana and cannabis to be able to help control a lot of her symptoms and stuff that experiences. And if you hear something like that, see, like my issue is I don't like our whole medical system. From my experience of trying to fight with John Hopkins for a whole entire year just to get a
Yes, I do.
but I see the perspective of how they're reading it. But here's the issue is they're reading things off of a piece of paper. So if you read something about a 20-year-old kid who's not being able to go to the bathroom and then all that, they look at it like it's not my concern. And they kind of just swipe it off to the side where I get pushed down this long fall in order thing. And I'm like, maybe we should have more people that are taking an initiative, like you hear people that are involved in these dispensaries. When you go in there, like I've been in there to get medical marijuana when I was going to go get my card, and they were just asking me questions, making sure I was right with it. And I said, that's how a lot of the medical system should be. There's a more of a care when even if you even mention the word cannabis, everyone thinks hippie, hippie love. And it's like, well, there's a love there for the idea that you understand that all these things that are built up into your head get washed away when you smoke. It's same thing with psychedelics, same thing with anything that can really tear down the fabric of reality you built in your head and show you how much of either a joke you might be of yourself. Like how many people walk around with their noses higher up than everybody else and then they smoke weed and afterwards they're like this calm, loving person. And it's like, because you realize you're
Yep.
being ridiculous because it's showing you the important things. Like I always talk about like a nice breeze in the air, when the birds are chirping. I see your Instagram all the time. You're putting up pictures of you outside doing barbecue or something. I'm like, any person that's so in with their own self-esteem or they can't get out of their own ego would never be outside barbecuing talking about how the world is beautiful right now. They would be focused on like, why am I not doing this? Why am I not doing that? Why am I, all these other things I'm obsessed with, things I'm like, why am I not doing what I want to be doing? It's because you're too focused on where you want to be rather than why you're here right now. And that's very, very important.
Oh yeah. Well, this year I made it a point to take one day off every 2 weeks and just go up north. Go do some four-wheeling, go sledding, go experience nature and live life. So that way I can get some kind of a decent balance instead of just work, 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 work. That's all there is in life is work. As long as you can get balance, you start to see world's not that bad. It's crazy, it's nuts, but it's not affecting me. I can live my life. I can actually live it to the fullest and just be me. Forget what everybody else is doing. Forget what everybody else is saying. Just enjoy the moment.
Yeah, because that kind of links to the first thing I asked you was who are you? The aspect of you saying you want to help people, you say you want to put this idea of like we're all equal. That's the same thing you think of when you're cooking. When you're making something, you have that idea running into your head of why you're doing it in the first place. And that's how you know if you never lose that, you'll never lose the love or you'll never lose the passion for it. So many people get stuck on growth. So many people get stuck on like the idea of like, oh, I'm not at 1,000 subscribers. I'm not at 7,000 subscribers. I don't have 1,000,000 views. It's like when you start thinking in that mindset, you've totally lost who you wanted, who you started out to be in the
Oh yeah.
first place, a person that's helping another person. And that's why it'll never be really a true job for you is the aspect of you love it too much. It's not something where it's like you need to keep
Nope.
having it's nice to have the paycheck, sure, but it's not something that's tasking on you. You're never waking up in the morning going, "Oh my God, I got to make a cannabis omelet today." It's like you're not you don't have that in your head because you actually enjoy
Nope.
doing that.
Oh, I love what I do, and just get the feedback from people that watch the show and how enjoyable they or how much enjoyment they get from it, how they love to just watch it. I make it friendly, the charismatic aspect of it, and they actually learn something. That makes me feel good. Trying to make it as easy as possible for you to expand your mind, but also have that kid level. Never lose that inner child. And that's one of my biggest pushes is I always want to be a kid. Go swing on a swing set for a minute and just stare at the sky, enjoy yourself. Go climb a tree and just
Or
enjoy it for a moment.
or do what you do and sleep in a hammock in your backyard.
Yeah. I mean, if you can't get out, I got a hammock. I just hang out and stare up at the sky for a little bit and go, wow, this is just beautiful, like you're camping.
Do you like to focus on like how fast the clouds are moving when you really look at them? But in like in the grand scheme
No.
of things, they're moving pretty slow in the sky. But from where you're sitting, looking up, they just move so quick. But if you're looking at like a distance, they barely even look like they're moving an inch.
Yeah. One of the things I used to do when I was running a barbecue kitchen in Silverton is on my little hour break, I'd go sit in a little park bench and watch these big poofy clouds go across the sky. And I'd see how some days they'd go, and other days it was like a slow motion aspect, just.
Do you ever
So it was pretty awesome.
do you ever feel like sometimes you're finding the rhythm to the universe, I'd say? Like I experienced it taking Adderall sitting out in front of a Cracker Barrel for 2.5 hours. I didn't even go in to get food, but I felt like everything in motion around me, if you truly stop and kind of take it in, it's all moving in a rhythmic pattern, I'd say. It's moving in a way where everything's kind of like, it doesn't matter if you're there or not. It's flowing. There's songs going on, like the sound of the universe, I'd say. And it's interesting because I just
Mhm.
saw an article Vice had put up about trying to get out of space time. And I was like, what does that mean? And apparently there's a certain frequency, since we all move at frequencies, that people try and meditate and get into. And it's about really losing yourself on an aspect of getting out of your own way, not the idea of like you're blocking everything you want to see, but your overall sense of touch, the things around you, getting in touch down into your roots. And I'm looking at that, I'm like, yeah, how many people are paying attention to like the sky when they're fucking worried about their car payment? And it's like you're missing key aspects on what makes life beautiful, which is why everyone's like the world's crap. It's like because you're not looking at it right, man.
Just look at the smallest thing. Look at a little leaf. Look, watch an ant. I mean, it's I don't know. Get yourself out of reality. That's why I take the daycation, as I call it, is escape from reality for a minute and just take a look at everything around you. You'll realize how small in comparison to the universe you really are. And that's why you need to stay on that humble level and just enjoy life and enjoy what you're doing. If you haven't found it yet, start looking.
Like take a step back now and look at like all you've accomplished in the past years since we last talked. Like I'm not talking
Oh,
to the same guy who was talking into his kitchen before, when we were doing the first podcast episode. I'm talking to a different guy. You've been in magazines, you've done what you said, festivals, right?
yeah, I've been to a couple different festivals. Earl Camp last summer I went to open air markets at two different locations in front of marijuana card certification companies. So we do that to help boost the community. CBD sales, artwork, all that kind of stuff gets done on it. And then I promote my workshops and my YouTube channel.
And the point of the workshops is, are you also teaching people how to create their own, besides like the videos and showing people things, but you are doing
Yeah.
classes and stuff?
Yeah, I'm actually, so my workshops are the base infusions. I teach butter, oil, heavy cream, sugar, alternative sugar, flour, seasonings, honey. The full step-by-step infusion process is on them. They all come with step-by-step infusion guides, terpene breakdown guides, cannabinoid lists, percentage to milligram to gram breakdown, percentage to milligram to teaspoon, and much more. I also teach the breakdown of full spectrum, broad spectrum, distillate, isolate, and why I prefer a full plant spectrum infusion and over a distillate or an isolate, unless you're just looking to isolate one cannabinoid.
What's the difference between a distillate and an isolate?
Distillate is a liquid and isolate is a powder.
Okay. And is there any certain is it different effects to you when you take it, or is it just the rate of, I guess, consumption, I'd say?
Just the way it's consumed, basically. You can get distillate activated or non-activated. You can get CBD isolate, same concept. Usually it's all the isolate that I have found personally has always been activated. And you would use your isolate to make crystalline. So the crystals that you see everywhere, you would use an isolate aspect to create that.
Do you, when people come up to you, let's say you're at a workshop or something, what's your large like what's the age range of the people that are coming to you? Are you experiencing more older people or more younger people?
So far, my age range has been 30s and above. I've had the majority between 40s and 60s at the moment, because they're more into, they more want to learn about how to make the savory foods, how they can use their, how to make the product first, and then how they can use it in all of their recipes. If there's a difference in cooking or any of that, and the only real difference is temperature. Usually with baking, is you would bring it down to a lower temperature when you're baking and stretch out the cooking time.
Is that the popular usually items that you would make for someone? Like what would be a top commodity or something among people that are looking to make like a cannabis edible? Besides cookies. Come on, give me
If
something
they
like
come to
soufflés.
me, let's see, what did I do? What do I do? More savory hot foods like chili, mashed potatoes, just easy stuff to infuse that's not sugary
Really?
is
Mashed
usually what
potatoes?
people come to me. Yeah. Use an
I'm
infused butter,
I'm
mix it
think
all, mix
I'm
it all
thinking like
together and whip it together.
there were two things that got giant during the pandemic, and that was either someone starting a podcast or someone's learning how to make fucking sourdough bread. And I'm like, with the amount of people that are looking to make bread, you would think that the main commodity they'd want to know is like, how do I bake? How do I find ways because that to me is like still if you toss out the word edible, I'm not even thinking eggs. I'm not thinking mashed potatoes. I'm thinking like desserts and sweets. And I just think that's because that's what I've always seen every time I walk into a cannabis shop. It's lollipops,
Mm-hmm.
it's brownies, it's like certain delectable items, which is cool to know that there's more out there. But I mean, like, that sucks that like a lot of places they don't sell those types of things unless you're going to, at least from what I've seen. Usually you're walking in, they have a row of lollipops or something out for you, but no one's teaching you how to make like a nice quiche or a nice chili. I mean, that blew my mind when you said that. I was like, damn, making a chili with cannabis in it. And I'm like, I would end up eating the whole pot, and I don't think I would handle that high very well.
You could just make a low dose chili too. So you can gauge how much you're actually eating and dose
Do you
yourself
know me?
correctly.
Like, we go all in. Like, that's it. Like, there's no, we're gonna do a little bit and pace ourselves. I gotta finish the whole pot, and it's gotta be a lot. Like, how much do we got? 3 bags? Throw it in there.
All right. Well, if you're gonna do that, once you get your chili done, split it in half and then only infuse half.
Sit
That
down,
way you
get
get a
some
little bit
cartoons
and then
ready. It's
eat
gonna
that
be a
one.
great time.
Exactly.
What I guess goals I would say do you have for the future? Well, let's say goals for you and then goals for the cannabis industry. Because you mentioned a really good point about the research side of things, like we talked about on our first episode. It's important to show the benefits, which everyone always talks about, but what about the bad stuff too? People don't really talk about those a whole lot. And when you don't introduce that into the thing, then when people hear about it, they start looking at it like, oh, then that one guy was just biased to pot or something. It's like, no, include both sides of the stuff, because there is that
Yeah.
there, but teach someone the guidebook to how to get high properly. Not like, don't go in it like smoke as much as you possibly can, because you're going to have a bad time. You're going to have a really bad experience.
Oh yeah. Well, one of the key aspects that I teach in my workshops is start off with microdosing. So 1 milligram, 2 milligram, 3 milligram, just work your way up slowly until you find that level that works for you, the proper dosage for you. And if you do get too high, take a high dose of straight CBD. It'll level you out in about 15 to 20 minutes. It'll bring you back down, plateau you, so that way everything's not going crazy up here. You're not feeling all the shakes or the spins or whatever you're getting at that moment because you've ingested or smoked too much. But it also works the other way. So if you take CBD prior and you're not getting as high as you want, and you'll take CBD prior to that, it'll help lift you up. So it's kind of a safety net or a helpful booster, however you want to look at it.
See, these are important tips. So someone that gets too high isn't Googling, what do I do when I'm too high? And then they just sit in the shower for an hour and a half. It's
Right.
these are right ways to be able to kind of like make people more comfortable with the aspect of things. I think why people get a little bit scared of it too is not only on the concept that it was illegal for so long, but it's the aspect of like they're afraid to go overboard and they don't know how to bring that back, because that fear aspect of like, I don't want to do too much because then what happens if I overdose? It's like, all right, you're scared because everything's showing you how scary it can be rather than showing you effective ways to be able to handle it when it happens.
Exactly. There's actually a company, it's called Undo, and you can look them up online. They have a pill form aspect that if you get too high, you can take it within 15 to 30 minutes, you're back down level. You can do a conference meeting. Like it completely just kills that high and brings you back down to reality. And they call it, it's basically your safety net. Let's say you got way too high and you got to deal with a family member that's coming over right now. And you just can't focus or any of that. Take the Undo. Within 15 minutes, you're back down to, a nice plateau level. The high's gone. You're fully focused. You're back to reality.
And I want to ask, what has, not just from starting the cannabis journey or anything, but like what marijuana wise has it done to help you out?
I've had 2 knee surgeries and now I've got 12 holes in each knee. I've got tendonitis and arthritis in my right shoulder and a compressed disc in my lower back. So chronic pain is one of my biggest issues that I've dealt with my whole life. And after my surgeries, the doctor, not my whole life, but after my surgeries, the doctors just dumped opiates down my throat. And I couldn't function. I couldn't focus. I couldn't get behind the wheel of a car and drive, because of it was either too much pain or too intoxicated from the opiates. With cannabis, I've been able to regulate pain, regulate focus, anxiety aspects or anti-anxiety aspects, I would say, to slow my brain from overthinking, but still being able to focus on what I need to do, fully functional and all that. And I've been able to go about my day. So instead of being either too intoxicated or dealing with pain all day, I've been able to regulate my pain with cannabis, but not intoxicate myself, if that makes sense, and still be able to do everything I need to do, probably on a better level as well.
It's weird, the base models for what we consider pain is what we can see. I spent a lot of time researching invisible illnesses, things that people suffer from, but you really can't see it. It's stuff that they suffer on the inside. And without experiencing like an intestinal issue myself, it was really hard for me to be able to understand that. But it's if there's a literally something better than an opioid, like how many people in America suffer from a back injury and how many people just write an
Mm-hmm.
opioid for it? They were starting to, I listened to a podcast with a guy named Dr. Mark Gordon, and he was finding correlations
Okay.
with things in your diet that would help reduce your inflammatory responses that are causing a lot of chronic pain in a lot of people, and even linked to PTSD, linked to severe things of depression that's linked
Mm-hmm.
to your diet when it comes to your inflammatory response being lit up. And it makes sense if you look at like what a runner's high is when you go running, that feeling afterwards, you're like, like all mellow and shit, is because it's all your endorphins ramping up. And it's an aspect of like, sometimes our bodies are too clogged with shit to realize how much in pain they are. It's like when you see someone switch a diet or something, they're immediately talking about how good they feel and how amazing it is. I never want to eat that crap again. It's like when people give up soda and stuff, it's like, it makes sense because like you get so blinded for so long because you have bigger worries on your head that you're losing the first worry you should be considering. And that's what you're putting inside of your body.
Exactly. And that's also a great point on that. That's why I do the more savory foods, the side salads and things like that, for my infusions, because I want you to eat healthy. Your body's going to run good or bad depending on what you're putting in it. Treat your body the way you want to be treated. You want to be treated respectfully. You want to be treated well by all the other people around you. So treat yourself the same way. Eat something that your body is going to enjoy, that's going to give you nutrition, actually help your body grow and move throughout the day, instead of junk food, fast food, all that crud that's processed bullshit.
Yeah, I kind of link it to like people want something and then what they actually need is a little bit different. I was doing an experiment on myself for a while. I was doing 1 can of tuna a day and I was just eating a quarter of the can. And I was like, how much do I actually need compared to how much do I actually just see it in front of me and I just eat the whole thing? You need a lot less than you think you do, but
Oh yeah.
it all boils down to nutrition. Like if you eat 8, 12 donuts, the reason why they think that like food is also linked to depression. And it's weird because the addiction to food is because of your depression. So you're feeding the demon, and then it's just getting bigger. And then you keep wondering why you're eating more is because you're still feeding the linked cause. It's because if I offered you 10 donuts, 10 savory, succulent, juicy, Krispy Kreme donuts, you would be like, oh, hand them over. But then afterwards, do you feel good after eating 10 donuts?
Hell no.
That's why they think it's linked to depression. It's in your inflammation system, your inflammatory response. When you eat too much food that's bad for you, it really shocks your body in a way. So if you come across someone in the store or something, they're really aggressive, really angry, and they're mad for like no apparent reason, and you wonder why that is, it's probably because they're eating like shit. Because anybody who's drinking like vegan shakes and is actually like sustenance, like eating good, healthy, like clean foods or just good foods with a little bit of bad in there, they're not ready to fight you over a parking spot. Like they're pretty calmed down on the aspect of when you eat like shit, you feel like shit. When you feel like shit,
Yep.
you tend to force that out onto anybody around you. You know, you tend to be pissed off in general, which creates tension in the world. It's like willing bad energy into the universe. So if you looked at maybe instead of trying to change a person's actions, you would focus on their diet, on the aspect of like, that's why schools, for some reason, they started looking at nutrition in the kids, and they realized all these kids have so much extra energy because they go to lunch and then all we're feeding them is cookies and all these other types of things rather than feeding them healthy choices and stuff, where they would come back and have like they have meditation time now. Like being able to get a kid to do meditation after eating cookies is hard, but if you're giving them proper vegetables and at the same time a meat or something, eventually they're going to balance out a little bit and have a little bit more of an understanding when it comes to education. They're going to be able to take in information better. Same thing with people. You get a dude filled up on pasta, he's going to fall asleep and not listen to your lecture. You know what I mean?
Yep. Oh, I definitely agree. I would not eat a bunch of pasta and then go to a lecture. I'd be passed out in like 30 minutes.
Not even giving the guy a chance to tell you all about the atoms and neutrons and electrons and all that in the body system. You're just sitting there taking a nap, thinking about what you're doing with Kate Upton later. I don't know if that's your dream. That's mine. I'm sorry.
No, I don't know.
What would you say your hopes for the next year are, this coming year? What's a couple achievements you want to get knocked off the peg list there? You said you're going up north as a relaxation thing 1 day every 2 weeks. So I'm thinking you're creating we're going to see a Chef Turtle beef jerky? Huh? Huh?
I've actually got a buddy of mine who I've been talking to that wants to do that. So I'm gonna see when he wants to get together
Ship
and create
that
one.
shit my way, brother. I'm telling you, I'm a beef jerky fanatic.
All right, I'll see what I can do. I'll see how I can pull it off for you.
But what's an achievement you're looking forward towards that you want to knock down off your achievement list there, buddy?
I don't know if it'll happen this year, but one big one is the cover of High Times. I would love to get a cover on High Times, one of the biggest cannabis magazines out there in the world. I would also like to get a network deal of some sort for my cooking show so I could take it national and visit different legal states and have different guest stars of local chefs and aspects like that showing their recipes for patients.
How legal is it down in your local area?
Rec just passed out here, so anybody over 21 can consume cannabis.
Okay. Have you thought about trying to get like go to a business and sponsor like an event or do something where they could do like a news thing and maybe possibly get you some FaceTime on the news a little bit that might link to somebody wanting to interview you or talk to you on one of their shows?
I've been working with it, talking to different dispensaries and getting my brochures in there and all that. No interviews just yet, other than these lovely chats that we have. But it's growing. It'll get there. It's just right place, right time, and networking. So
I have
I
faith.
definitely got to.
I have faith in you for sure. Only on the aspect of like, I've seen they put My Pillow on fucking TV. Why not Chef Turtle? Why not Chef
Why
Turtle?
not? Why not? It'd be awesome. My jaw would probably drop if I saw myself on TV. Other than the YouTube stuff, I'd be like, "Is that really me?"
Would you want to have your own like personalized kitchen setup like they do on TV, or would you want to stick with your original format? Like, because I find myself even with like, the upgraded microphone and like the desk and the different chair and all that, I still find myself liking the base stuff. Like I'm okay with a $20 mic. I'm okay with that. I like working with what I got because what I got isn't what makes my love or passion for it grow. Makes my love and passion for it grow is why I started in the first place, to have conversation.
I love all the two kitchens that I've been using and the one I have now, obviously, that's in the episodes, the newer one. But if I could, I would definitely get my own small little building or small area that I could do a teaching kitchen, like a workshop kitchen, along with my little studio. So that way it would be separate from my home, if that makes sense.
I just picture you owning like a restaurant, but it's like Pizza Hut style, like with like the salad. I like the vibe of Pizza Hut. That's not like an insult. That's a compliment.
No, you're talking the old school 90s
That
Pizza Hut back in the day.
fucking was the best thing in the world, dude. When you sat in, you actually wanted to play on the jukebox, 50 albums of Looking Glass with Brandy or something. You wanted to freaking sit down and actually eat your meal. Nowadays, buildings or restaurants that get made, they feel like 15-minute windows of opportunity. Like you get to sit, eat, and then get up and go. Not sitting down and
Yep.
having a time with the family, having a connection with your friends. Like everybody back in the day at baseball games afterwards used to go to a Pizza Hut and party. It's like that's the type of vibe I want to feel when I go somewhere that I feel like Chef Turtle could provide.
One day, maybe something like along those lines we can pull off. That would be amazing to have. Get the old 90s vibe back where it's just, let's all have a good time, hang out, relax, enjoy what's going on in the moment.
Yeah, in the moment is something that gets, I guess, misinterpreted by a lot of people. They don't really know what in the moment is. And I think that's just because everything is right now, right now, right now. When it comes to paying, like payoff, all these types of things. In the moment, it's like, stop worrying about, I want to get this now. Worry about where you're at right now. Like that's so freaking important that gets lost so much.
Oh, yeah. Well, in the moment, one of my best descriptions for that aspect would be don't focus on anything else in the world. What are you looking at? Is there a tree? All right, just enjoy that for a minute. Are you looking at the clouds? Enjoy one cloud, pick it out and just watch it for a second. Just be in that kid moment where you have that imagination again.
Dude, I just thought of your catchphrase, Chef Turtle, slow and steady, bro. Slow and steady.
All right, yeah. Slow and steady wins the race.
Because if you say
That's the tortoise motto.
if you say turtle power, you get freaking sued by Ninja Turtles.
I don't want to piss Kevin Eastman off. I would actually love it. One of my goals this year, next year, is to be able to meet him again, because I've met him a couple of times and got autographs and all that at signings, but actually sit down, be able to sit down and talk to the man and see if he would be willing to create a logo and something with me along the lines of Ninja Turtles and Chef Turtle, or be able to have, I don't know, one of my biggest things is have a Ninja Turtle episode where Chef Turtle comes in with an infused pizza, and then they just all have, oh man, the hell happened? Oh, damn it. No fighting crime today. We're watching some TV, boys.
Splinter can take a rest day.
Exactly. Just like an adult stock. Because, I mean, we're all in our 30s, 40s. You know, we all grew up on Ninja Turtles. So something geared towards that. If he would be willing to do something like that, that would be amazing for me.
Looks like you got another achievement on the list there, buddy.
I'm hoping so. I've got a few. I've definitely got a few. I'd like to get Tommy Chong to interview me. Have a nice smoke session with that man. That would be amazing.
I don't think he
be able
knows
to
where
bring
he's
him
at, to be 100% honest with you.
Do we all know where? Does anybody know where they're at? Really?
That's deep, though. That's deep. Why you gotta hit me with that? Make me contemplate life and shit.
That's just how we should. Always thinking about something. Always trying to figure it out and simplify it down to just being, why is it there?
Well,
Why is it
Neil,
beautiful?
where can people find you at, man? Where can people find out the Instagram page, the channel?
Okay, my Instagram page is Chef Turtle 420. I've got a Twitter as well, that's Chef Turtle 420. My YouTube channel is Chef Turtle 420, and the name of it is Chef Turtle's Infusion Kitchen. You can also look me up online. I have my own website that gives you a breakdown of who I am and what I do in the industry. It's the same as my YouTube, Chef Turtle's Infusion Kitchen.com. And then I have a Facebook that's Chef Turtle's Infusions as well. We've got 17 episodes on the YouTube channel already. We're dropping episode 18 this Friday and filming episode 19 today.
That's what I'm talking about. And all I have to do is put in a request for green eggs and ham. Can you make that?
I can probably find a good recipe and do that.
There you go. It could be a Dr. Seuss special.
I like